Haniel, Act 1, Interior, a bright, clean, professional looking waiting room. Fade up. Haniel sits in a very white waiting room. There's a ticking clock and a glass coffee table and a door. A tattered copy of the Daily Mail sits unread. Haniel looks nervous. She taps her foot. She's dressed like an office temp in a nice enough skirt and suit jacket combo with an appropriate collared shirt and some light jewelry, sensible shoes. Eventually, she looks to the ticking clock. The second hand is stuck ticking on noon with the other clock hands. It stays like this and continues to tick. Haniel has a small paper cup of coffee and she sips. She looks to the little coffee station, then back and sips again. We have no idea how long she's been here. The ticking seems to get louder. Suddenly, Pete steps through the door with big energy. Haniel smiles a bit awkwardly as he looks straight at her. The ticking stops.
Honey?
Hey, Pete.
She stands to greet him and puts down her cup. He marches over and embraces her in a hug.
Oh my god. How many millennia has it been?
Too many.
Pulls away.
God, you still look great. Are you moisturizing? Look who I'm asking. Of course you're moisturizing. Hey, you got coffee? Let me get you a coffee. I got better than all that stuff. You want to come in?
Sure.
She nervously follows him. Interior Browner office with classy Art Deco furniture outside time. In his Mad Men-esque office, Pete goes to work on her cup with a bit of milk and sugar. Hania looks around, still seeming a bit nervous.
This is the last of the good stuff. In fact, this is pretty much the last of the stuff.
He offers it and she sips.
Yeah, it's good. Nice.
I have some Pez too, and a couple boxes of Oreos if you're still a sugar hound.
Um, I'm good, Pete. Thank you. This is delicious. Is it goat milk?
Yak.
Mmm.
The last yak.
Ah.
It died.
Oh.
Yeah. Still not much for small talk, are you?
Pete sits in a chair in front of, as opposed to at his desk, and invites Haniel to sit across from him. She obliges and sips again. For a minute, he just looks at her, summing her up.
I suppose you're wondering why you're here.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
As opposed to nowhere.
Oh, well. Yeah.
Hey, what was that fruit you were eating in that city all covered with vines when I plucked you off planet back there?
Um, Starfruit.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, I get it. The shape. Ah, tried too hard on that one.
Yeah.
Wish I grabbed some.
Yeah.
Okay, to business.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay, enough. Alrighty, sure. So, hey, it's just you and me now.
Mm.
Made redundant. Ah, can you believe it?
Nope.
Job done.
Yeah.
After all this time.
Yeah.
No more orientations as people come through the gate for this guy.
Uh-huh.
Of course, that's not exactly what I've been doing since new management took over.
No?
No, babysitting duty mostly. I'll show you. Kind of a new project to tackle now, actually.
That right.
Yeah, and hey, I could use some help.
Um,
Look, I know you and the boss didn't end on exactly the best terms, and hell, you're out of practice. I'm out of practice, but who's more qualified? You were human resources for heaven and Hades. I mean, who else would I ask to recruit for a new project? And hey, look, I know you've got all kinds of new experience now, but since the last meteor closed the book on my old project, I'm taking a shot here. We had some labs back in the day, you know? I figured if you weren't doing anything, and honestly, I say this with my whole heart, there's no one I'd rather do this with.
it's an assignment?
And hey, look, I understand it's weird or hard to get your sea legs back straight away after being unemployed for a stretch. I'll ease you in, if you're game.
Haniel sips her coffee, chokes a little, recovers, looks embarrassed, almost falls apart, somehow recovers, a bit shaky.
Oh, Pete, really, I'm flattered, but
Okay, okay. Coming on too strong? Look, don't say no. I can walk you through.
no,
I can.
no, Pete, I mean, I haven't just been unemployed. I'm, I mean, it's been just me down there for so long, and the things I've done.
Pete lets the air hang. He looks sympathetic, he really does.
I, I mean, I thought I was all alone. I didn't see another person for I think it's been a couple hundred years.
Yeah. Uh, time. Kind of more like, well, it doesn't matter. Look, the thing is, I've been putting this project off. Boss is wrapping up the sector, and well, I just couldn't put it off anymore, and I have kind of a problem. I wanted to scoop you up when we took the last guy. It was. I'm sorry. Really more of a managerial decision to leave you. I got you now, Boo. I got you.
Pete leans towards Haniel, and she suddenly is overwhelmed and lunges, hugging Pete as tight as she can and welling up with tears. Pete holds her gently and puts a hand on her head. He closes his eyes and comforts his friend.
Hey now. Hey. Okay. It's okay.
End of Act 1. Act 2, exterior, what looks like a parking garage exit onto a sunny spring garden at dusk. Fade up on a garden. There is someone in it. We pull out. A few someones. Down the hill, more people mull about, looking less coherent. All are in the same pajama-style plain clothing, barefoot. Out more, and we see a cavernous pit far from the garden, containing truly lost-looking souls, some with deteriorating uniforms, most, though, naked and ill-looking, by the thousands, then millions. It is unknowable, the scope of visible human suffering and torment, on a sliding scale by the geography of the surreal, dark, and beautiful setting. The sky is awash in color and twinkling starlight. Pete and Haniel walk the garden and look over all this, a few souls wandering around them without acknowledging them. Haniel takes it all in as Pete takes a deep breath before explaining.
These are the leftovers. Souls who, capable or not of thought and choice on the ethereal plane, couldn't decide whether they wanted their energies to transfer into new sentient life or go back out into the pure engine of a dwindling universe such as it is now. The boss is setting up new projects. A decision needs made for this lot. Will they be used to start life in the newly created world? Or, as they can't seem to choose one way or the other, will they be recycled without starting over as living beings, animals of any kind? A true end, in a way, as that thought and their ability to choose goes. Someone has to make that choice. This plane is going away with the rest of this world as it fizzles out over time, and the boss feels she shouldn't be the one. I offered there was someone better than me for a final judgment. Do the lost deserve another go round? Or peace? And that's where you come in, honey. And if you want, you can do the job of sorting with me or by yourself. I'm happy to retire, finally, and see my energy used for a new life and a new world with my charges. You can do the same if you like, after the thing is done. Find, I don't know, a last purpose after all that you've been through.
Can I show you something?
You wanna show me something?
Haniel takes another beat. She looks Pete in the eye with a show of real vulnerability.
If I show you a place in time, can we go there? Just to look?
Pete takes a moment to absorb the ask. What is at stake here for Haniel is hard for him to imagine. He's not been mortal for a long time and knows he's taken a risk with her.
Sure.
Exterior, a once mid-sized metropolitan city now taken back by nature's wild, plant life, and patience. Fade out, then up on Haniel, walking Pete through her nameless city, which time and nature have taken back, toppling overgrown and covered in greenery, barely recognizable as a place once inhabited by civilization. They walk through another garden.
This was you?
My garden, in the end.
Pete looks around until he spots the place it looks like Haniel had been sleeping in the final years of the Earth's existence. It's very humble, economic bit of shelter, not unlike the mobile provisions of a nomadic soldier of fortune. Pete pokes at a plant that draws his eye.
These are edible?
No, those are just pretty, but
Ah,
these are. And add everything over here together, and you've got yourself a nice salad. Sweet and savory. Not bad for a girl in exile, huh?
not bad for anyone.
Haniel blushes and waves him to follow her up a path by a rock face. Around a few corners, Haniel struggles up the face, pulling on vines the whole way, Pete bumbling along somewhere behind her. Finally, they reach a flat space as Haniel helps him over the edge. Pete gets to his feet and dusts himself off, then looks around at what Haniel has brought him to see. It's gotten a bit dark, and Haniel now crouches, lighting a fire with some brush from the ground and two stones that spark when she strikes them. As embers begin to glow, Pete sees markings on the rock face in front of them that seem to go for the better part of what might once have been a city block, facing what might once have been a park. The rocks a feature of a hiking trail once, maybe. As the fire grows, Pete can start to make out what's immediately in front of them, the beginning of what now appears to be a seemingly endless mural. Pete moves closer to inspect the colorful, somewhat chalky artwork. Haniel, behind him, lights a makeshift torch from the larger fire she's made and brings it close to where Pete now stands. In front of Pete now is lit up a scene of what might be angels in the clouds falling. Haniel walks and more images go by without us much able to focus on them, until we get to a depiction of what looks like Haniel in her HHR days, parked behind a desk, looking contentedly and longingly at Devil Girl. Haniel touches the red, chalky face of Devil Girl as she passes, smiling sweetly. We lose focus again as we start to see an image that might once be an imposing Gina Shaw handing out pink slips. And completely once we see what is almost definitely a depiction of Haniel and Devil Girl speeding off into the stars, smoking with the top down in her old Cadillac, fire in their wake.
You did all this?
I had time on my hands.
They walk, taking in the pictures, Pete with some wonder, Haniel with studied reflection. As Pete takes in an epic sequence seeming to involve a different road trip with a more diverse trio of characters and a lot of gunfire, Haniel begins to speak into the air, more to the pictures themselves than to Pete, perhaps.
Death didn't come for me, but I could have left any time.
This takes Pete's attention away from the mural, just before he gets to a picture of, amid other things, a man lying in a street who has notable holes in his hands, covering his face.
Left.
A single bullet did the job on plenty others.
Pete looks at that picture now.
But you stayed.
Seemed too easy.
Pete looks ahead to the scenes and scenes of drawings that stretch on and fade into the darkness now.
Was it?
Well,
They walk in silence a bit. We see a few more scenes as the ages pass. Buildings rise and fall. Chalk Haniel seems to become a nun for a time, some kind of robot uprising. Nun again. Wait, are those robot nuns? Alien visitors, a flood, fire, the trees taking root and dominion once more.
Haniel, this is quite the body of work. This must have taken you
less time than
thousands.
you'd think. It's just the latest version, too. There's probably a dozen like it, and stars and stops along my trail through the world. Started it when I hadn't seen anyone in a while. Sort of kept me company, like having the TV on while you sleep.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, I remember TVs. Haven't seen one of the old tube models since the second or third Dark Age.
Well, if this is my reality show, I got well more than my 15 minutes of fame.
Uh,
Audience of one, you know. Nothing on but repeats of the Haniel show.
ah, I get it.
I'm hilarious.
Can't say it's much of a comedy.
He stopped by a picture of her fighting what looks like a pack of chalky monster raccoons with a long, sharp stick.
Tragedy, comedy. What's the difference?
Isn't there supposed to be a wedding at the end of one?
Seems like a messed up metric, long as you're laughing.
Fair point. Eye of the beholder, huh?
They've come to the end of the mural. The stars are coming out. Now there's just blank rock face in front of them.
If an existence like this isn't a joke, what is?
She looks back to the last picture of her, sleeping by a chalk fire in her little shelter, alone. Pete considers all this.
But no bullet, so to speak.
Well, that wouldn't be very funny now, would it?
Then why, Hani?
Hmm.
Why did you wait out existence? Don't tell me you did all this building to a punchline.
It kept me company.
Oh, the painting.
There was no one to talk to but myself, and I got sick of hearing my voice, so I turned the TV on and made my own show. The story of me, unexamined, really for thousands of years, kind of. Once things got quiet, it was different. I could really think, really remember all the me's I'd been. I could think about what all the lives I lived meant to me, to the world existing outside of me, of anyone who's ever lived, erased and gone. But here, all of them were here. We were here.
Pete is waiting for some kind of revelation beyond this. What's she getting at?
So much to keep track of. If you were dwelling so much on stories being lost, why do it over and over in so many places? Was it really worth it just to hold on to it all for yourself? Every victory, sure, but every loss, every hurt, carried around until the end of time. Why, Hani? Why not let it all go? Find some new way to have purpose in living and surviving as long as you did. Maybe I'm not getting it. Maybe I can't. Am I just thick in the head? Huh?
The drawing saved me. It was something I created for me, a job I gave myself. No one told me to do it. It wasn't out of desperation to earn or have an identity or survive anything. I think drawing all this was without purpose, certainly for anyone but me. And it fulfilled me to create and consider it for a long time. Multiple drafts, even.
That's amazing. But what are you.
The scenery fades as they talk until we're in an undefined, open, white, bright, empty space.
Let me do it.
Do?
The world. Just one. This one?
You want to be its creator? On the new project?
More than anything.
The boss thought you might say that.
I lived so long with people in that world. I know them. I know what they want. Even when they don't know they want it. I mean, I've had a really long time to think about it. More than that, I think I understand what they need more than the last creator, who was maybe just fucking around to find out. Pete, let me try.
Okay.
Yeah?
Come on. The boss knows you, Hani. Whatever your difference is, she pre-approved the construction. You can get started right away, and I'm happy to hand you the keys.
I, I, I know what to do. I, I can make it better. For them, all of them, I think.
Pete approaches briskly, handing her actual keys and kissing her on the head. A door of light becomes visible behind them. Pete smiles a half smile and shakes his head. He takes her energy in. She is overjoyed. He nods.
Okay, director. Let's get you to work.
She hugs him again.
And do me a favor before I become a brick in your next epic. Killer wall, yeah?
She's buzzing with anticipation and ideas now, but gives him her full attention.
Yes, anything.
Pete whispers as the door begins to open.
Don't forget to make it better for you.
She tears up. Haniel leans in to give Pete one last absolute bear hug of all bear hugs. He rests his hands lovingly on her back and his chin on her neck, pleased to have found completion in the assisted rescue and restoration of his longtime friend. Haniel smiling so much on his shoulder.
You can count on me, Pete.
We're just so close to her wet, glowing face. And is that Gina reflected in her teary eye? Cut to black. Title, Haniel. The end. Healing.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Killed it.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you.